Arthurian forebears than that of his mother, though with George V there was some return to Victorian values. As for today, the notion of service, let alone royal service, is so radically different that comparison seems futile. Yet something of the mystery and hush that hung over Victoria's court seems to linger, and royal service tends to run in families. Some of the same names that served under Victoria, Dean, Lascelles, Fitzroy, have cropped up in Elizabeth II's household. The likes of Paul Burrell, though, would have had no place at the Victorian court. Perhaps it's not so very different after all. I first came across collected letters and diaries, written by Victoria's ladies-in-waiting and maids of honour, in the course of writing a short biography of the Queen for children. I found these uneventful records, the stiff evenings, the damp carriage drives, the endless waiting about for orders, curiously fascinating. Their very dullness intrigued. I wondered about these women, how readily they submitted to the dictates and obligations of royal service, whether such service was actually more of a penance than an honour, whether their professed devotion to the Queen was entirely sincere. I wondered about what they didn't say as much as what they did, and I began to read more widely, discovering other members of the royal household. Here, I felt, was a new way of approaching Victoria, through the eyes of those who served her, who knew her as well, arguably a good deal better, than her own family. I needed, however, courtiers of a particular kind, people who had occupied different positions at court, who might illuminate the Queen in different ways, who were intelligent, capable of putting themselves beyond the hushed hothouse claustrophobia of court life, and, most importantly, not overly cowed by royalty. The Queen, especially in her old age, was a figure of considerable awe. Lord Rosebery, briefly Liberal Prime Minister, claimed that only two people frightened him, Bismarck and Victoria. And Bismarck himself emerged from his first royal audience wiping sweat from his brow. It was a fear shared by the Queen's children and most of her household. Most, but not all. James Reed, Her Majesty's doctor, and his wife, a former maid of honour, privately referred to their royal mistress as Bips. I wanted to find courtiers who were able to see the Bips within the Victoria. And so I came to Sarah Littleton, Lady of the Bedchamber, and then Superintendent of the Royal Nursery, Charlotte Canning, Lady of the Bedchamber, Mary Ponsonby, Maid of Honour, Henry Ponsonby, Private Secretary, Randall Davidson, Domestic Chaplain, and James Reed, Physician in Ordinary. Some of them were at court together and became friends, some never met, two of them married each other. For some, royal service became a raison d'être, the defining experience of their lives. For others, it was a mere interlude, or a prelude to greater things. All six sometimes chafed under the constraints of court life, admitted to frustration, impatience, and longing, and indulged in the occasional joke at Her Majesty's expense. Open criticism was quite another matter. Between them, they served the Queen over the 60-odd years of her reign, Sarah Littleton coming to court in 1838, with Victoria just Queen of a year, James Reed supporting her as she lay dying at Osborne in 1901. I came to see Victoria as an increasingly substantial battle, passed on respectfully from one to the next. Serving Victoria tells the stories of 6 members of the royal household, of their experiences of court and their individual relationships with the Queen. Victoria was never on terms of intimacy with her household, but nevertheless their testimonies offer an intimate view of her, as a woman who gossiped and fussed, who was prone to fits of giggles, of rage, of weeping, who gobbled her food, who shrank from confrontation, yet had a compulsion to control, whose own needs always came before those of her household, yet who took a genuine and inexhaustible interest in the lives of those who served her.